The narrative began on a peaceful night after football. My husband returned home with two unknown pals. My outlook changed permanently that night. This narration will explain what happened that evening that left everyone thinking. My hubby has always been quiet and unassuming. Someone who chooses stability. I believed our relationship was close. There was no trace of a secret after years. Our existence was basic. I focused on my work and routine. We met peacefully at night. My spouse played football that night as usual. It was his Saturday activity. Time to relax with pals. I stayed home. When I returned, I had company. Ryan and Chris, two new buddies, joined him. My spouse smiled and introduced them to me while I attempted to recall mentioning them. I never did it. They seemed friendly and conventional, yet the atmosphere attracted my attention. I couldn't identify it. I kept quiet because visits after football were rare. The chat was pleasant once I met everyone. To continue my work, I left. I felt compelled to be close, as if that night would be exceptional. The night started like any other, but what happened next made me question my bond and my judgments. When I returned to the living room after making drinks, my spouse had an inexplicable vigor. He was thrilled to have fun with Ryan and Chris. While the three laughed about football, I sat next to him on the sofa. Everything was well till then. Nothing special happened that night. His brief observations sometimes accompanied the talk. However, I kept detecting something odd. Something wasn't right about his attitude or speech. Maybe it was his smile. He occasionally glanced at me, as if waiting. I ignored it. Maybe he was happy. Everyone was fine until my husband's statements changed the mood. He grinned at Chris without warning and said something that made me react immediately. "Chris, Lauren can talk well tonight." Suddenly, the laughter stopped and the words were in the air. I attempted to comprehend. He said what? Was he kidding? Why did he say? I looked at my husband for a sign that everything was a joke. Maybe I waited for his laughter. He appeared calm and relaxed. There was no thunder or laughter. He stared at me, waiting for my response. I looked at my husband's pals to see if they knew. He addressed Chris, who was completely confused. As his glass swung from the table to his lips, he stayed still. Ryan stared at the floor without emotion. The mood changed drastically in seconds. There was no denying the tension. I wasn't sure if I was scared or puzzled. I tried to rationalize what happened, but my mind was racing. Why did he say? What does it all mean? Is this game? He expects what from me? My calm husband added something that made the situation worse, just when I thought it couldn't get worse. I mean it. Abdominal pain struck me suddenly. There was no joke or hidden meaning. My biggest concern was that I had no understanding what that meant when I spoke seriously. The quiet chamber was frightening. Nobody dared speak. Chris held firm. Ryan kept gazing down while I sat confused. No longer was that night normal. What transpired after that sentence impacted my view of my husband, our relationship, and myself. However, the night ended unexpectedly. Why was I acting now if I was always reserved? I said that to two new people. Why? I looked him in the eyes for a hint. He stayed calm, as if everything was fine. I felt completely alone in that spot for a time. My head was full of ideas. A heavy joke? Trying something new? He mad at me? What is he seeking from me? My body was immobile, but my mind was racing. I wanted to flee, change rooms, pretend this wasn't happening, and avoid something I didn't comprehend. I had a small voice in my head encouraging me to stay here and see what happened to figure out his motives. My curiosity and desire to escape clashed. I calmly watched my spouse. I pretended to be happy while holding his glass. What scared me most was that he seemed confident that everything would go smoothly, as if he knew how the evening would conclude. How could he know? He wanted to show what? He wasn't alone. I also saw the two people seeking for signs of disorientation. Chris stood stiff, as if undecided about laughing or fleeing. Ryan felt uneasy, but his demeanor suggested he expected what was next. His expectations? What would be his best move? I tried to stay calm by crossing my arms. I didn't expect to quit so simply. I didn't write about feeling lost. I kept quiet, as if I had no role in the events and had no impact. My mind was chaotic. My spouse glanced at me again, but his demeanor had changed. It was not a joke or a distraction. He seemed to have expectations of me, which I didn't understand. What was his idea? My options? I just realized then that I was committed to any scheme he was planning, despite my resistance. There was no escape. I kept thinking about the questions. The situation worsened steadily. My breathing became harder. I wanted solutions but was afraid to ask. His next move startled me even more. My husband carefully stood up, not talking or looking at his buddies. He walked toward me. His voice was practically inaudible when he bent down and spoke to me. Those 3 words stopped my mind's avalanche. His voice sounded calm, like he was giving me secret instructions. I felt an unfathomable blend of feelings. First, I considered telling him to stop toying with me. His secure look made me meditate. I never acted impulsively. I needed a reason to do this. His comment stuck with me. It was hard, but I felt I had no choice. It was like he was telling me, no matter how weird or unpleasant, it had a purpose, though I didn't know what it was. So, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Wrapped on the sofa backrest, I inhaled deeply. My goal was not to flee or resist. Despite not understanding, I followed his orders. I wondered how far this could go. Some part of me wanted to trust him. 3 expressions had reached their limit. I started changing my view of my husband and myself. I felt like I was seeing him from a new angle after a long time. That person was who? He looked different from the one I shared my life with. I felt protected for the first time, both captivating and unsettling. I stayed to learn his objectives and who he was. The riddles he had not revealed were things I could not stop talking about. In addition to fear, there was irrepressible curiosity. I decided to change things then. Crossed my limit. After that, everything was irreversible. Everything changed over the night. My husband kept making odd observations with an unsettling calm. At first, the lines sounded innocent, but they always had 2 interpretations that made you question if there was more. Ryan and Chris, initially rigid and nervous, calmed down to adjust to a foreign environment. I felt like I was on an emotional roller coaster. I couldn't resist my interest after uncertainty turned into dread. Why is this happening? He seeks what? Is he trying something new or just messing with me? A weak giggle from Ryan, the quietest companion, broke the silence. This circumstance seems awkward, no? Swing as I watch my spouse. Chris mentioned football to change the topic, but my husband raised his hand to maintain control. He smiled coldly and added, "Let's keep the topic. I want to discuss something more fascinating. I want honesty from everyone." The room was quiet again. After hearing what both buddies said, they looked restless and my heart raced. Was that his intention? What kind of honesty did he want? I bit my lip to stay cool, but the mood got stranger. We seemed to be in a social experiment or game only my husband could play. "Tell me, Chris," my husband kept looking at him. "When you met Lauren tonight, what did you think?" Chris was drunk and astonished by the question. First he looked at my spouse, then me, then the floor. "Are you sure I should say it?" Component location requested with uncertainty. While waiting for Chris, my husband calmly replied, "Yes, I want you to be honest." My body tensed up. It seemed like time paused. I couldn't believe my spouse was doubting his pals. I was convinced any response would disrupt the night. Chris breathed deeply and remarked, "She's beautiful." She sounded insecure, like she was waiting for scolding. My spouse nodded as if anticipating that response. He regarded Ryan. "Ryan, what did you think?" Ryan, furious, smiled to calm the situation. "I guess we match," he shrugged. An odd feeling came over me. I wasn't sure if it was humiliation or discomfort. Each syllable worsened the mood. I wanted to say anything to end the conversation. I remained curious. What was my husband's limit? What was his point? The mood was tense. But my husband's next move altered everything. He stood up and carefully placed his glass on the table. Silence filled the room. Every stride toward the center echoed, totally covered his eyes. Even I, who wrestled with my own thoughts, couldn't look away from him. Something about his position and how he looked at us made me understand I was about to make a big decision. I felt my heart thumping faster. My mind was full of excitement and terror. I was about to say what? Please allow me to request? Drania spoke calmly and kindly. He regarded Ryan and Chris. I need your aid tonight. I trust you as you trust me. Both glanced at him uncertainly, attempting to comprehend what they had heard. Ryan spoke first. Could you clarify? He winked uncomfortably. My spouse smiled, unsettling others. A more passionate smile. No disguises tonight, no secrets. Despite their discomfort, I want everyone to be honest. Chest depression. I wanted what? What did I mean? What did I expect there? My mind searched for answers, but only found more questions, like a burden on us all. Ryan and Chris seemed as perplexed as I was as I tried to understand their thoughts. My spouse turned slightly toward me as if he needed a boost. You need not worry. Not a practice. He smiled. My only wish is that Lauren and I can trust each other. He stared at me after saying that. I sensed shift. I stopped watching. I was absolutely involved despite not knowing how. Our night altered when my husband made that decision. He told Ryan calmly that his skin almost froze. Ryan, please approach Lauren if you trust me. Plate-sized eyes opened. My breathing accelerated. He was doing what? I thought while Ryan stared at me like he had asked for the impossible. Chris showed his nervousness. I alternated between doubt and fascination. My entire body was on alert, yet I couldn't move or speak. The stress was excruciating. Ryan paused, watching my husband and me. After taking a long breath, he gently integrated, walked to me, and then paused to glance at Chris for approval. My husband remained mute and calmly contemplated the situation, which alarmed others. It seemed to realize his desires would be granted. I thought everything was about to erupt. Ryan would do something we couldn't comprehend. Chris was about to intervene, and my husband was just watching, as if everything was going as planned. I sensed the night was ending then. Their room had a strange vibe. Ryan approached me, but stopped meditating. Chris held the glass still, but his concentration was on us. My husband stayed calm, as if he knew what would happen. The heavy atmosphere made my breathing heavy. My spouse came over and gently, as he had all night, stated something that showed this circumstance exceeded our expectations. In addition to words, this night is about confidence, overcoming our anxieties, and trying something new. I felt a chill down my spine as I crossed his eyes with Ryan and Chris. It was clear that night I would push my limitations. My hand shook slightly. My heartbeat seemed to resonate with everyone around me. I doubted I could handle it. The way my spouse looked at me made me take a big breath. He murmured again, "You can trust me." That simple prayer appeared to erase my doubts. I carefully considered it and agreed. Thus, things changed drastically. The tension turned into a heated environment. My husband's hands were on my shoulders, gently guiding me while Ryan and Chris approached slowly, as if waiting for an invitation. It started embarrassing, then got worse. My spouse marked the beat while the others walked ahead. All doubt gradually disappeared. I had never felt so vulnerable and free. Ryan held my waist while Chris remained close with a tense, longing look. The tension permeated. My spouse watched me with pride and joy. He saw that everything fit as expected. We lost our limits as the night went on. No shame, only want, connection, and trust. It was unlike anything I had ever experienced, giving me immeasurable vitality. The room was quiet again at the end. Ryan and Chris relaxed on the sofa, their gaze conveying emotions beyond words. My spouse grasped my hand and watched me to make sure I was okay. Everything worked out well. Nodding and smiling, I asked, "Lauren, are you sure?" As she removed a hair from my face, Drania asked, "Trust underpins everything. Knowing we'll be together no matter what." Although there was plenty to study, I understood his point. That night changed our relationship, my view of my spouse, myself, and everything we knew about love and trust. That night, we crossed borders I never would have crossed. A solemn silence filled the home when Ryan and Chris closed the door. The ecosystem retained nighttime energy. Our silence lasted a second. I sat in the recliner, thinking about what transpired, while he remained calm. "Lauren, how are you?" Staring into my eyes, component placement inquired. After calming down, I noticed that my face showed a mix of difficult to express emotions. "What's happening?" I answered. My spouse spoke then. "I wanted more than a test that night," he remarked cautiously. "I wanted us to understand that sincere trust overcomes fear. Trust helps us overcome our own obstacles." His words gave significance to that night's occurrences. He was bound to feel uncomfortable at first. Seeing my dissatisfaction, he claimed it was impossible to impart this information to you otherwise. However, our conversation showed that what transpired was inexplicable verbally. My husband wanted us to share that experience and feel it. Only then did we get the meaning. The discourse allowed us to reflect on our shared experiences. Despite the odd night being an opportunity to grow as a marriage and as people, I understood that often the unexpected occurrences have the most impact on our personal growth. I learned that night. Sometimes the most unexpected occurrences inspire us to grow, communicate better, and unite. Trust is more than a word, an action.